Thank you. So Ryan's a tough act to follow, and from the description that you were given in my introduction, I think you can realize that I'm literally old enough to be his mother. So, no, you are not. So that's a tough act to follow. It took me that long to get my act together. So we're going to shift gears. I'm going to tell you a little bit about science and some things to think about as far as science policy and what it means to you, and then a couple of closing thoughts about what it means to be part of this fantastic Haas family. So, you know, we live in a time in which it's possible from a single drop of blood to be able to deduce someone's identity, to tell about their ancestry back tens of thousands of years, and to be able to do something about their current health status and some predictive information about their future health status. And so that's incredibly powerful. Anybody who has that DNA of yours, and it takes very little, is able to answer just about any question that we have the information out there to be able to answer it with. So you need to think about that, because technology does not keep up with or actually it exceeds the policy debates in the public sphere. So it's going to happen whether or not we have rules surrounding the use of genetic information and the technology or not. We had the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, which was put into place around the completion of the Human Genome Project back in the early 2000s, which was great. That was a great foresight into having some control over the privacy and the ownership of your data. We also had the 21st Century Cures Act that President Obama put in place last year at the end of the year, and that really was the start into the promise of true personalized medicine based on your DNA. As of 2017, we've seen some erosion of both of those. So we need to be vigilant as a community, as citizen scientists and as people with influence in the business community to make sure we participate in those debates. So this information is truly available to anyone. We've seen a true democratization of the availability of genetic medicine. And truly, you can go out on the internet today and purchase your DNA sequence. And I like to show this graph because at the top curve, we have Moore's Law, and there's been a lot of discussion over the past year or two about how Moore's Law is dead in computing, and so we've seen a flattening of this. So if we think about this curve in the sense that we're increasing computing and decreasing cost, and we have a linear, actually this looks linear, but it's an exponential decrease in cost and increase in computing, we actually blew that out of the water and had to have something called a Carlson curve developed to describe DNA science. So it's exponentially better than Moore's Law. So we actually think of it as kind of like Moore's quaint suggestion. So we're now at the point where you can get your entire genome sequence. So every intimate detail that we know about you can be provided to you in the cloud, if you so desire, for about $700. So that's really staggering if you go back and think about that. So at the end of the Genome Project, around 2002, we spent about $3 billion and spent 15 years. So it's available to you. You just need to think about what that's going to mean and who's going to use it. So with that in mind, and the career that I've built in DNA science, I love it. I think it's incredibly interesting. Every day we find out more, and it's all the more powerful. And so I decided while I was in the Executive MBA program to take all of that scientific knowledge and the experience that I had and try to help to bring DNA science to people in an accessible way. And so that ended up being Blackhawk Genomics, which is the company that's a professional services firm. We work with lots of individuals. We work with small companies, academic medical centers, and it's done quite well. The revenue has grown 10x year over year. And I can say that it is completely the result of the interactions that I had with my Haas classmates, the graduates of the program, and the faculty. So I'm incredibly grateful, and my life has been changed because of that. As a result of Blackhawk Genomics, I actually entered into partnership with some other individuals into a new company called Pharmazam. And this is a company focused on the promise of personalized medicine that I spoke of. So what we're doing is providing information to individuals about the interactions of the medications that they are taking, how they're going to function for them in their body based on their genetics. So there's a web app we have if you want to check it out. We're going to push an update in a couple of weeks. But basically, with a cheek swab, you'd send that off. We would look at a survey of genes across your genome, and then you're able to manage that. You can manage the medications of your grandparents, your parents, and hopefully be able to prevent what are called adverse drug responses. So before you go in to take a medication, you're going to know whether or not that's going to work for you. So we're going to continue to see that evolve. And hopefully what that's going to transition into is a time in which we actually will invent medicines based on your genetics, not just tell you whether or not you're going to have a response to those medicines in a certain way. So all of this is built on many, many years of experience and many years of innovations by lots of scientists and engineers. So the last thing I want to leave you with is that we, as an ecosystem here in the Valley, tend to really put a lot of credence in 24-year-olds and 22-year-olds, which is great, but there are some things that you just cannot do without a lot of formal education and a lot of experience. And so I hear a lot of conversations go on where people say, well, it would have been great to have been an entrepreneur, but it's just too risky for me now. And I'm here to tell you that I think that is patently untrue, because you have, by definition, de-risked your venture by gaining all of the academic experience, the work experience, and the life experience that you have, and building your networks. So you're actually much better off at this point, if you're 30, or like me, approaching 50, than you would have been whenever you were quite young. So we should definitely recognize that we are leaving value on the table if we choose to ignore the people who have this great depth of knowledge and interact with people who have PhDs and have been in industry and maybe are thinking that they would want to go ahead and contribute something to society, because I think that those true transformative inventions will come from those people that are a little further along in their careers. So with that, I'll just leave you, in case entrepreneurship is calling to you, to remember that this is really true. So, thank you.